Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Michaela Peters. I just got back from working at the restaurant. I worked a day shift today, and those shifts are particularly not lucrative, but I've been doing that just to stay on the schedule because apparently they do this new thing now where if you don't pick up a shift within a month, they want to just terminate you as an employee, and then you have to do all your new hire paperwork again, and it's very annoying. So anyway, just got done with that. Now I'm back, and right now I'm going to start looking at mortgages. Oh my gosh, so scary. And I'm not really sure that what I'm looking at right now is definitely going to be my forever home, even though probably will have to be for a while. But I have some different ideas for it, and it's been really hard getting over the mental hurdle of the whole renting versus buying thing, and I feel like people make a lot of comments on the Russian side of my channel, and I'm not exactly sure how to address all those in Russian, maybe. I mean, it's a very convoluted issue, because I think owning versus buying is really a big emotional thing, in the sense that there is some pride in ownership. I feel like I've talked about this a lot already, like all the reasons why I want to own versus rent, with the biggest being the emotional feeling of I never want to get kicked out of somewhere that I own. I don't like that lack of stability. I grew up with a lot of instability. My parents got divorced, and in some ways it's probably why I thrive off of chaos. Maybe I even create chaos, and I seem very chaotic. I've been accused of that as well, because that just seems very natural to me. However, it's something that feels like I have to actively fight against. I used to have in my Instagram bio, 10 years ago when I was first on Instagram, fighter against entropy. So yeah, everything in the universe is just constantly trying to turn to crap, and it's our job to try to get it to not turn to crap by working really hard. And that's literally everything, including my room right now, which is always a mess. Okay, so I guess what you can do technically is you can look through a bunch of different mortgage lenders and try to find something that would be cheaper. Now, they don't necessarily like this because obviously whoever you go with first is going to want you to be their client. So I can't go with my original loan officer right now because this weird particular unit place I'm looking at doesn't really independent loan officers or something. They have very specific mortgage companies that they approve for. Yeah, and so why am I doing this if I already decided that, okay, I honestly that's the problem, is this is an assignment, but the due date is too far out and has been too far out, but at the same time moving is a lot more serious than an assignment. So this is really dumb, but I'm going to say it, and I know I sound like a wackadoodle, and believe me, people say stuff and I think they're wackadoodles all the time, so you can judge me for that all you want. But I feel like sometimes I'll be on this vacation, I'll be chilling somewhere, and then I'm really contemplating a certain circumstance in life, which actually, now I'm thinking about it, usually does have to do with housing. The first time I was in Issyk in Kyrgyzstan, it's that lake that's in the middle of the northern part of the country. I love that place. It's so nice and clean. And I was sitting on the beach there. And what year was this? 2017. It was 2017. So the first time I went to Kyrgyzstan, because I had been living in, I called it cockroach house. So I was renting a room from a place that had cockroaches. Apparently it's more common than you think. And I was really actually trying to independently exterminating them, but the family I lived with was we don't care. And I was couldn't be me, can't relate. So I stopped living with them because I got accepted to NASA. So I actually moved all my stuff out right before I went to NASA in 2017. And then I was in Kyrgyzstan that summer in 2017. And I'm sitting there and I realized I'm not going to keep rowing this year because I had been rowing. I started rowing in 2016 in the fall. And then I went to NASA in the spring. So I didn't keep rowing, but I wanted to go back to rowing in 2017. But I wasn't going to be able to commute 45 minutes every morning to do rowing. It just I did not have enough energy to do it. And I said, you know what? I will be happier doing club running and club swimming, and I'll just commute the 45 minutes from being at home because my dad wasn't going to help me with my room and board situation. So living at home was going to be free. So I commuted for a long time, and I worked at the restaurant, and I did I somehow still did sports on the side and used to go to hackathons a lot. Like, I somehow managed it all. It's not, I do not envy my former self at all. I wouldn't really want to be back in that situation. But it just kind of hit me. I'm like, I'm not going to live up near there and I'm not going to row because it's just too much stress. And that was it. And, here I was in Hawaii, same situation, like on the beach, like swimming in the water and stuff. And I was like, yeah, it could be nice to live a block from the beach. But then I kept fighting with my mom a lot. And I was honestly pretty disappointed in this because I really, yeah, I said to my therapist yesterday, you know how many years it took me to like my mom? I was like 28. I'm 29. Okay, so I really didn't have a good relationship with her, like, for most of my life, and it's finally gotten, like, good, and it got ungood on this trip, and she was yelling at me a lot about, like, things that she didn't agree with that I was, like, saying I was going to do in the future. Okay, let's just put it that way without getting into the details. And, as my brother says, God is whatever you want God to be, and I was like, I really feel like this is God's way of telling me I'm just, like, not supposed to live near my mom. I think it's just going to be too close. I know, like, I have my own apartment. And then I also tried to rationalize this because I was like, it'd be nice to live near the beach. I was like, I could just lock the door and not let her in. I'm kind of a softie, so I don't think that would work if I'm being really honest with myself. So I was like, so what's the workaround? Like, I'm going to have to find somewhere else. And so I was like, all right, God, I don't have a lot of time here because I gotta go to Finland and handle some crap, and then that's basically my expiration due date, move out, like, crunch time by when I come back. And so I was like, if you think that I'm supposed to be somewhere else, you have to make it very obvious to me what that somewhere else is going to be. And I have been wanting to own, I talk about that a lot, and I go on Zillow, as I do most days of my life at this point, and there are a couple condos that I can actually afford and don't look disgusting, but I don't trust the pictures, and so I go and I see a few of them. And so I actually see 3 of them. And the 3 of them, only like one of them was like move-in ready. The other ones were going to require some gutting that I was like, I don't have time for this. Like, I can't do this. So that didn't happen, like those ones. But the first one was really nice. The issue with the first one is there wasn't a lot of storage, and it was a 2-bedroom, and they do also have 3 bedrooms in there. And even though the bedrooms are tiny as crap, okay, my bedroom is so big. Like, I literally had a weird dream one night that I literally lived in my bedroom and had a kitchen and everything in here. Like, it is really big. So I'm, like, spoiled. I'm not going to lie about that, okay? And I kind of always had this thing where I didn't want to move out and, like, compromise my standard of living. But, oh, well, that's going to happen anyway. And if I get to keep my mental sanity, then maybe that's more important anyway. Because I realized that in Finland, while I had a lot less stuff, I was a lot happier. And I have to keep reminding myself of that. Ugh, okay. So then there was, like, one more unit in this same area that I did not look at, that I was like, actually, can I go look at that one? And it looked good in the pictures, and it honestly looked good in person. There are, like, some really tiny, small things. The stupidest thing is the view out the window and whether I have trees to look at when I work. That's lacking. Stresses me out a little bit. I hope I can handle that. And there's just, like, a little bit of, like, the floor being uneven and some of the, like, not super bad, though, but I'm a little bit worried about that. And then there are, like, some doors that are, like, kind of, like, not off the hinges, but, like, it's not bad. It's just, like, very small things that I noticed because I'm, like, OCD. Okay. So I had to, like, think about, like, well, I really liked the other one because it had, like, a nice view out the window, but it had, like, no storage. And I was like, this is just, like, not going to work very well for me. Like, I really had to think about that. And they're, like, the same price. And I was like, why would you do a 2-bedroom when you can get a 3-bedroom for the same price? And they're both, like, pretty good looking. So whatever. It was, like, all this stuff. And now I have to, like, compare mortgage rates and all this and then see if I even get approved. And if I don't get approved, then I'm going to end up in the little summer beach house thing. It's, like, only 1 bedroom. And then I'm going to have to keep looking. But that was, like I said, what I decided, where I was like, all right, dude. Okay, so that was awkward. My sister just came into my room, not because she wants to spend time with me, but because she wanted candy, and she's not supposed to eat candy, and unfortunately I have some candy because I just bought some to give to my friends in Finland, and I'm like, you can only take 2 because I'm not going to have any for my friends, and that's the whole reason I bought all this candy. Alright, whatever. So, okay. as I was trying to explain, yeah, looking at places and being like, okay, this is close enough to being the one, I'll just deal with this. Now, the bigger issue that I'm having is, you know, I'm stubborn. Like, I'm not gonna deny that. I'm just gonna be, like, forthcoming about that. I'm pretty determined to get what I want in a lot of circumstances. Circumstances where that involves other people obviously doesn't work very well. Circumstances where it's literally just an achievement focused thing, I don't want to say easy, but it's like more than doable. So one of the biggest issues right now is that my dad has this really strong opinion about, you know, rates are going to go down, costs are going to go down. Like, and here's the problem, okay? And I finally have the Psychology of Money book. I'm not sure if I've, like, showed it on my channel, but I bought it. I've been reading it. It's great. This is probably one of my favorite books because it mixes two of my favorite things now. I don't, like, that's the thing, is I don't think I, like, actually love money. It's not a good thing to love anyway. It's just that, like, money is a tool, and money is something that everybody needs, whether they want to admit it or not. And I was, you know, talking to my grandmother, I was like, if being rich means I can own a property, then I guess I do want to be rich, because that's, like, the one thing that I want. Like, I want this stability around, like, somebody cannot kick me out of where I live. Like, I belong there. So it is mine. Like, if it's a safety thing, you know, it's a feeling of security. And people are like, you can't buy happiness. No, you can buy security though, apparently, but then security, it's just an illusion. I mean, whatever. Like, at the end of the day, everybody needs a place to live. So you figure out what feels best for you. And for me, I know that owning something will feel best. But anyway, what I'm trying to bring up with this book is that, all right, actually, I was just in this chapter, so I'm going to bring it back up. It's called Surprise. History is the study of change, ironically used as a map of the future. And so there's kind of this whole thing where it's like, one of my friends used to say all the time, history doesn't repeat itself, it just rhymes. Like, that makes sense, right? It's like the same, and that was literally what that chapter talked about, is it's like, the problem is, the circumstances that exist today did not exist in the past, and they will not exist in the future. Like, each present moment is a very unique moment and set of opportunities, and it is impossible to predict. So a lot of the financial gurus on YouTube are going to tell you, like, when should I own a house? There is no answer. Like, there is no correct answer. The answer is when you need to own a house, when the circumstance in your life feels appropriate for this is the right time for you to own a house. And for me, right now, this does feel like the right time. Why? I can, like, kind of swing it. It's going to be tight, but, like, I can do it, even though, you know, it's going to be something small. But if I eventually, like, do get married, whatever, move on. And it's kind of this dumb thing where, like, my dad's like, owning a house is not going to make you more attractive to a future partner. And I'm like, no, sometimes it does, because it gives this stupid illusion that you're, like, independent. I don't know, people do a bunch of stupid crap while they're dating to fool people into getting stuck with them. That's my hot take of the day. Yeah, but whatever. So, like, maybe I'm not going to be in it forever. But, you know, for now and for what I need for the next, like, in an unforeseeable amount of time, like, I do want to be somewhere where I feel safe and I feel secure. And, like I said, like, I belong there. But, you know, it's really hard because, yeah, my dad's whole thing is like, I bought this house in 2004 or 5 or whatever year it was, and then 08 happened, and then it halved in price. And then I did actually, like, look at his house on Zillow. His house, you know, the house I live in right now. And it's true that, like, I'm just trying to think of it in terms of, like, percentages. It did go down by half, like, a couple years from then. It has recovered since then, but it's only increased in, like, cost about, like, 20% or more. 20% is still a return, and if you've been living in the house the whole time and, like, have had a stable place to live, like, who cares if your housing cost only, like, the, you know, wealth aspect of your house, like, the equity in it only goes up 20% over however many years. It's still, like, a percent that it goes up. So, like, congratulations. I don't know. So, like, the thing is, he keeps being like, oh, there's going to be a crash. But, like, the thing that this book talks about is that the government, like, the U.S. government, is getting so much better at avoiding market crashes at this point that, like, they're happening, like, not, like, when they happen, they're going to happen closer together, but they're going to happen less intensely, is the way that they explain it. And there's actually, like, a chart in here for that. But, and I was kind of getting frustrated with my dad. I'm like, you don't, like, read enough of these books. Like, you don't, like, know what you're talking about. And then he's getting mad at me. Yeah. The time between you... Okay, sorry. I'm wrong. See, don't listen to me either. The average... No, wait. Hold up. The time between U.S. recessions has changed dramatically over the last 150 years. Oh yeah, this is like some stupid thing where Americans think that you sound smarter if you have a British accent. So this is the chart there. And then it talks about the average time between recessions has grown from about 2 years in the last 1800s, in the late 1800s, I can't read, late 1800s, to 5 years in the early 20th century, to 8 years over the last half century. So, okay, yes, I did lie. They're happening more far apart, but I think it also has something to do with the fact that, okay, this is what it says. There are plenty of theories on why recessions have become less frequent. One is the Fed is better at managing the business cycle, or at least extending it. So that's what it was. So it's kind of like, oh yeah, wait for another recession. Well, it's just that the recession is not going to come as often. Yes, so that's the problem. Whatever, but like the problem is also, like, recessions come with their own set of issues. So yes, I could have a recession and my house could be, worth less. But then I could also lose my job, and then that sucks too. And like, yeah, let me try to buy in a recession, but then I just got laid off. Like, whatever. It's like my mom calls it the what if game, right? I talk about this. It's like, what if this happens? Whatever. You don't know. And so this is the issue, is like, you don't know. And the one thing that you do know, and that it talks about at the beginning of the Rich Dad, Poor Dad book, is that inflation happens and the cost of everything goes up over time. So being like, I'm going to wait the market out a little bit, like, you can't time the market. It is impossible to time the market. And then if you do, because you have the insider info that is insider trading, and that's illegal. So you don't know, like, do you really want to be able to time the market? Because if you can time the market, you may know some shady things that other people do not. And that sounds not very, whatever the not politically offensive way of saying kosher is. That's usually what I say. It sounds not okay. Whatever. Okay. So, right now I'm at this point where I'm like, okay, I have to apply to a bunch of, like, I want to look at different mortgages. I want to, like, compare across them. And I kind of have, like, this, so this is actually what I do when I'm, like, at the bazaar in Kyrgyzstan, and I'm like, I look at this thing and I'm like, if it's this much amount of money, I'll buy it. If it's like above it, no, I'm gonna haggle down to this. If it's under it, I'll definitely buy it. And like, I kind of have this like if else statement in my head, and that's sort of the same thing that I have going on here. I'm like, if my monthly payment is this much, then I can swing it. If it's over this amount, then I cannot swing it. And that's sort of like what's going on right now, like in my mind. So I have that, like, that rule in my head, and to be honest, like, if it does end up being too much, I probably will just take the apartment and, like, have to move again at some point, which I don't, like, want to do. Okay? And I just think it'd be nice, like, having 3 bedrooms. I can have, like, a guest room and an office and everything. It'd be so great. And I have an attic for storage, and I have a shed for, like, storage, and I know I could just get rid of crap, but it's pretty hard for me, not gonna lie. Just want to hold on to everything, even mentally. No, but actually I do feel like I forget things a lot, which I think is good, because helps me get over things. So, I don't know. It's all kind of scary, like, figuring all this stuff out. And I kind of really wasn't expecting this level of turnaround, but it has been, like, a year and a half, just shy of, since I've been back. And even though I've done a lot of crazy crap in the middle of all that, like, it is impressive that, like, I may be able to enter the next stage of my life with this situation. And I guess it's something for me to be happy about. And I don't have to keep traveling, because there's nothing to run away from, because I'm, like, in my own space. And nobody can bother me if I don't let them. Like, that's very empowering. That's very cool. I like that. So it's kind of weird, because even just, like, the prospect of this thing, like, today when I was bored at work, I, like, made this whole floor plan of, like, this is where this dresser is going to go, and this is where this dresser is going to go, and then this thing's going to go here, and then my books are going to go here, and, like, I kind of already, like, mentally, like, figured out how I, like, want things to look, and then I'll bring my mom in. My mom's, like, much better at all that stuff than me, the interior design aspect, and, it will be, like, nice, and then I can pay it off, and then I'm going to feel accomplished, and then eventually I'll own something, and then I'll feel good about it. Like, it's this whole thing, like, I really was thinking about the future in that way. So, we'll see, like, what actually happens. Because right now, I don't know. Nobody knows the future. That's what the Psychology of Money book says. Really, nobody knows the future. But you do know that, like, prices of everything are going to go up over time. And so my idea is if I can get in as early as I possibly can, that might be a good idea. And then it's all like, well, why here? Because I don't like other places in America. I've been to a lot of them. Sorry, I don't like them. I did think about moving to Houston. It's really hot there, even though I have friends there. And I could have a nice house there. Maybe that's like mission number 2. I'm going to think about it. Because eventually I need to go work for the US government again. Maybe it'd be cool to go back to NASA. I'm not opposed to that, by the way. That's like truly an option. Alright, so where am I getting at here? Just like, I think this whole debate is really hard because it really like depends on the person. Like, when is a good time to buy? When is a good time to move? Like, because as this book talks about, nobody makes rational decisions, but the objective is to behave as rationally as possible, even though it's like truly against human nature, right? Because it's about psychology. Like, people are very emotional, even though nobody likes to admit it. Like, that is what makes people and not robots. Yeah. But I'm just happy to get like my own space and like create my own energy source and whatever, and then maybe I can be more successful and stuff, whatever. I kind of have this feeling that like things will get like significantly better for me at this point. Like, just in terms of like, I'll probably start making more money at work. Like, things will just, I have a feeling things are just going to start falling into place like once I make this big jump. And like, I just kind of need space to like heal from the trauma. That sounds very dramatic, but you know, like, a lot has happened to me living here, and I just kind of want to start fresh and like move forward with my own life. I don't know. But anyway, so this is getting kind of ranty, and I gotta go do mortgage applications now. So, I don't know. I'm getting on a plane pretty soon, and yeah. So that's that. Alright, well, thanks for coming to my TED Talk, my ranty TED Talk, and until next time, bye.